Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech, you know we got it, eh? Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech, you know we got it, eh?
Hello, everybody. This is Neal Fred Grier coming at you live or whenever it is you're listening to this. We are happy to be back. This is This Week in San Diego Tech. Fred, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. It's good to see you 2 times in 1 week.
I know it's been an electric week. I feel like we've just been, running. We're always doing that, but at least the last few weeks, we've actually been putting on some of our own events, which have been fun to team up again, as always. And as always, this podcast is really just brought to you to let you know what's going on in the scene, both on the ground and, up at the 32nd floor of some of the biggest tech companies in San Diego and everything in between. So happy to bring you the latest news from the ecosystem. Fred, you want to give a quick background?
Yeah, so I'm Fred Grier. You're kind of a local community builder in town and write about the startup and VC scene. And yeah, this is our weekly, cadence of just talking about the biggest headlines in San Diego's tech ecosystem. So yeah, excited to be back. Some stories and some events to discuss.
Yeah, so let's jump right into some of those events. You had a MedTech event where you curated a whole bunch of MedTech builders and funders recently. Tell us a little about the event.
Yeah, I think the precipice of this was life sciences kind of overshadows the medical device sector in town. So it's like, how do you curate, medical devices? This is hardware, healthcare focused companies in town. A lot of this is in Carlsbad, La Jolla, Sorrento Valley. We partnered with DLA Piper and another group called Evolve MedTech Partners with Brad Kilos and Matt Schwartz. This is our second time hosting this. We brought together 40 MedTech entrepreneurs. And yeah, the feedback that we found is there really is a need to bring together curation around this medical device sector. People are already talking about, hey, when's the next one in the fall? So yeah, for medical devices, reach out. We'll get you on the mailing list for the next one.
Awesome. Yeah, there's such density in device, and even when you say device and med tech, it's so broad even without that. I know what we're trying to do is separate a little bit of like the pharma and the therapeutics, but of life sciences, but still even within med tech, there's diagnostic and there's device and there's wearable and sensors and health tech. There's so much to unpack because there's so many good founders who and tech builders who have built in little lanes here. And actually, we're doing an event at the end of July at Google's office called Devon Data Night. It's a quarterly event we do focus on the technical leadership, but it's a health tech focused night, open to the public. Google's hosting, their head of Google Health is going to be speaking as well, moderated by the CIO, Chief Innovation Officer of Sharp Health. We've also got Arjun Bansal speaking, one of the preeminent, AI builders who's focused on life sciences right now. And I'm in work. We'll see. I think we might have the newest CIO of Illumina on the panel as well, too. So I love that we're just kind of seeing where the blurring is here of software, hardware, specifically in life sciences. So good work, Fred. We also put on, related to that, you and I just put on an event, and really you did all the work. It was an amazing event of an AI builders gathering at the Cooley office. We did this last year, so it's kind of a second annual, if you will, right? Well, what did you get takeaways from the event?
Yeah, I think you've done a great job of doing your Bloom Bites, kind of highlighting all events that you're attending and also hosting this week. I think that previous week you highlighted the AI Mixer event, which was great to just kind of bring together between 80 to 90 folks building at the intersection of AI. AI is kind of touching everything. It could be software, mobile apps I'm seeing it bleed over to even the life sciences. So we got an interesting mix of folks. and really just trying to identify who are the next up companies that are going to be growing and raising capital in AI. I think we are a little early in the Bay Area and New York, seeing a lot of AI investments, $100 million rounds. There's like almost like a AI poaching from like, I don't know if you've been seeing this, Neil, but Meta just offered, they're poaching engineers from OpenAI for 100 million type of deals. We're not seeing that kind of activity in San Diego just yet, but Gretel AI was one of the most recent acquisitions by NVIDIA. I think they were acquired for over 300 million. And the founders are actually still here, repping NVIDIA now, actually in Rancho Bernardo. So yeah, there's some things cooking in the AI space, and there was a lot of demand to do another one. We'll see if we get another one out this year, but definitely, defense tech and AI are the two hottest sectors in San Diego, and it's just great to partner with Cooley and Deloitte to kind of make that happen.
Yeah, we love having good partners that also like can pull on their network, right? And help us give the resources for us to help curate the right people in the room. Curation matters so much right now. There's so many events actually happening in a good way, but if you're busy building a company, there's only so much time you got to go. And so we're really interested in the curation aspect of that. Which led us to a new event we put on, focused on more to the capital community. We just coming off an event where we wanted to say, hey, what is the LP world like in San Diego, specifically LP focused on investing in venture capital? And so we pulled together kind of some GPs who have that network and LPs of venture capital here. LPs meaning fund to funds, family offices, and kind of that world, the advisor and wealth management world. So really cool to have Talipot host us in their beautiful office in La Jolla. They're a family office that has they're both a GP and an LP. They invest direct into companies, they invest into funds, and invest broadly for the family itself. Tell us more about the event, Fred.
Yeah, I think the precipice of this one was, I've been hearing a lot in the community that there's a lot of family office folks, LPs in San Diego, but a lot of them don't know each other. Some of them might be working next door and they go a whole year without talking or exchanging deal flow. So this is our first attempt to kind of bringing together 15 to 20 LPs and GPs in the community to kind of stir up some conversation. And I think the feedback was, hey, this is a great event. This is highly curated, great location. Talipot has one of the nicest offices in La Jolla Cove, overlooking Torrey Pines, La Jolla Shores. It was a perfect day outside. Couldn't be better. And it was great to kind of bring together that community, and it's deeply needed. There's a lot of capital in San Diego, and we just need more connectivity. And yeah, we're going to hopefully do more, maybe kind of bring together the PE community and other folks in different verticals. There's definitely an appetite to meet other folks who are new to town or have been here for a couple decades and are investing and helping grow the ecosystem.
Yeah, and it's super important that while the founders get funded from anywhere, we close the loop on finding local funding to fund local funds, to fund local companies. It's just an effort worth working on, because then we build this flywheel that when exits happen, the capital stays local, goes to the serial founders again. So while yes, founders pretty much are going anywhere where the money is right now, it's an absolutely worthy cause to also have kind of a dedicated domestic capital community here too, investing in our innovation scene. So I'm excited to keep doing that with you, Fred. Meanwhile, everyone in biotech this week is in Boston for Bio, the big bio conference that happens yearly. It rotates through San Diego, I think, once every 3 to 4 years. It used to be SF, Boston, San Diego, and I think they just added a fourth spot in the mix. So they try to move it around every year. This is like one of the two largest biotech events happening year round. So it's JP Morgan in January and Bio in June. So it seems. So I had been getting emails for a month already, just like letting me know, hey, I'll be at Bio. Either I'll be out of office or would love to meet with you. I'm sure you're getting the same, right? Pretty much it's quiet from the biotech scene locally because all eyes are on Boston.
Yeah, so I met with Nancy Hung. She used to be, very well-connected VC in town. She remains a VC, strong connected VC in town. She was telling me that she was headed down there to attend the conference, but really the value of Bio 2025 is not the meeting itself, but the meetings around the meeting. And so there's all these mini gatherings and private dinners that happen around the conference. And this is where deal making happens. This is where the early conversations happen with VCs. This is where investment bankers are trying to understand if people are going to look at an IPO or a SPAC in the next 2 years. And so and I expect an uptick in some activity maybe later this year or early Q1 2026 for biotech. It's been really tough with the tariffs and NIH funding, just slowing down. But there is some early talks that this cycle can't be stalled forever, and biotech will have another resurgence. It's only a matter of time when.
True. And if I'm looking at timeline wise, all those exits that happened in San Diego last year, which I think was a high spot, like I think San Diego was really on the map differently than other ecosystems. Look at ahead 12 to 24 months of when those earnouts are happening and expect those founders of the exited multi-billion-dollar companies to start their next one, right? So hopefully investors out there got those founders in their CRMs and saying, what are you working on next? Because that's absolutely what's happening for sure. And that kind of let's perfect segue right into startup activity in San Diego. Union Tribune put out an article. There's always good data coming out about Carta, about startup activity. What are you feeling and hearing about the local startup activity?
Yeah, I was actually happy to see this. I mean, it wasn't good news, but the headline was, investments in San Diego startups slow at the start of the year. It's a reduction. It's due to a reduction of science grants and economic uncertainty. The Union Tribune does these quarterly reports where they talk about, how is San Diego doing compared to the national region, and they talk to local experts. And for this article, they talked to Mike Krinn, who used to be the CEO of Connect. He's now running a $50 million venture firm investing in tech and life science companies. And he just, kept it real. There's been 5 major deals in the last 2 quarters, that being Shield AI, which is a defense tech company, Cyber Reason, which is kind of more on the IT side, Netrodyne, BioLink, and Carlsmed. And that ranges from, upwards of 200 million and all the way up to, kind of down to $60 million dollar rounds. And the sentiment was like, hey, it's already tough for venture capital dollars to raise that right now in this environment, and it's harder to come by across all verticals. This isn't really, it's concentrated in just biotech, but tech is being hit hard, consumer, and I think the article really dives into that. San Diego still is pretty healthy. We have almost $1 billion invested locally up to this point. We still have the second half of this year, and we're just seeing less deals being done in this environment, but some of the rounds are a bit larger, which kind of inflates the number. And I think we're talking before this call, Neal, that you're kind of seeing it on the investor side that there has been a slowdown and just deals getting done and startup activity, not only in San Diego but also more broadly. What do you take from this?
Well, first of all, I think the Union Tribune's 2 months late compared to you. You had a great article on Q1 data. The second Q1 was over, and they're putting out Q1 data at the end of Q2. So I can say that, you can't. But good work, Fred, for staying on top of that. Their data in this article was through March 31st. So we got a lot more data to share. But I have felt Q2 has been busier, a lot more pitches to me, a lot more companies, a lot more interesting companies too, like hot deals. So I felt Q2 has actually been picking up. I can't tell if everyone's rushing to do it before this summer, where they perceive all investors are just gone. But like I said last episode, open for business here. So send me your decks, and happy to check it out. Did see some Carta data that we'll link in the show notes here, just talking about like kind of restacking, re-ranking of ecosystems where they're showing up. I've thought it was interesting that New York is actually showing up in kind of the top 4 life sciences for funding. San Diego's still in there, top 4 as well, but New York has really jumped up in the last year, is what I saw from that data. I'm still pulling it up here actually, so I'll get it to you here in a second, Fred. And San Diego is not necessarily showing up in a lot of the software areas in the top 10 ecosystems. FinTech not in there. We are showing up in more of the hardware areas. So yeah, I think once you pull back the curtain a bit, and even in this Union Tribune article, if you look at the top 5 deals, they're all hardware related companies, right? Yes, they have some software component plus hardware. You got Shield, hardware and software. You got Carlsmed, hardware, biotech. You got even BioLink is hardware. So I think it's interesting to see that. And I think maybe we should start splitting out our reporting or just be more specific of like what areas are growing quarter over quarter. You mentioned defense tech earlier, right? And yeah, I just think San Diego's got some areas that are growing and some areas that are flat and some that are shrinking. And we should be talking about all those, what's working, what's trending around that. So either way, good to see data and good to see, month over month, quarter over quarter growth from startups raising and getting acquired. The Union Tribune article did have some good data around some acquisitions as well, as did yours, Fred. The Gretel one being a good high point. Already excited for what they're going to build next. And so I think that's those pieces where it's like acquisition, B sets the next company coming right out of it is exciting as well too. So let's talk about some of these fundings. There's an announcement by RetroRate. This actually is a perfect example of a founder who has pretty much spent his entire career in property tech, prop tech, as we call it, and almost exclusively like mortgage tech. Andy Taylor is on startup number 3 or 4 in the prop tech space. I met him 12 years ago, 11 years ago in Evo Nexus when he was doing Approved. He moved from the Bay to San Diego to be back closer to family. He grew up in San Diego, but spent like 20 years in the Bay. He was a CTO or head of product at Redfin in the super early days, then self-incubated at Chamath Palihapitiya's fund, Social Capital Partners, until he came up with Approved, which was really building like the common mortgage app, which kind of like think like TurboTax for mortgage. That got acquired by Credit Karma, and he went right back to the lab. What can I start building? And we were fortunate enough at Interlock to get an allocation and invest pretty much the second he said he was raising. I've been asking for a year, when can we invest, to be honest? And so super excited to see him coming out of stealth with RetroRate, with raising $2+ million to really look at the arbitrage of interest rates. It's really interesting that rates are so different across, if you look at the landscape of what people have on their mortgage. And so he's hyper focused on the assumable loan, which is actually 1 in 4 loans are assumable, meaning that you can actually, when you're buying the house, you can assume the loan, the rate itself, like the whole thing. It's just kind of a carryover. Now, that's obviously loan providers would rather reprocess and get a higher rate if that's what things are at, but he's realized this is a whole arbitrage moment. So cool platform to both educate realtors what to actually do and how to market this, and home owners and home buyers to be like, hey, there's a way to actually either get the house for a little bit cheaper because you can get a lower rate. So anyway, so congrats to Andy. I think you did a little interview with him as well too. He was on our podcast just recently. Like, take us through your take on RetroRate.
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job highlighting Andy and his background. He's a former Silicon Valley entrepreneur now in San Diego and really bullish on what he's building. I think what stood out to me, this is some fresh news. This just dropped June 9th. And looking at the press release, there was a lot of local names that were familiar. It was Cooley Ventures, which is a law firm. I didn't know they had a venture capital firm. Keefship Ventures, which is a family office, but kind of operates like a venture capital firm sometimes. Interlock Capital, which is Neal's fund. Launch Factory, which is a local group that invests. And also Arcus Nexus. I was like, she's surprised to see that too. So I think for me, it was like, hey, there's local investors who are investing locally. And so it's great. I think this is going to be hopefully a fast growing company, and we'll have a liquidity event in the next 5 to 10 years and return capital to local investors. And for me, I saw the headline, I was just really smiled that this is great to see the community backing local founders. And yeah, Andy's based in downtown and really trying to drive the resurgence of the startup scene down there. And we're myself and others are trying to really build community of serial entrepreneurial founders, and that's what we do, Neal, with our events. And it's great to see them raise their 2.2 million seed round. And San Diego is a great place to do it because real estate is one of our key sectors among defense tech and life sciences, but real estate is really our bread and butter for housing. And I think they're going to, be able to grow their business not only in San Diego but beyond, which is exciting.
It's an interesting bellwether market, to be honest, for residential as well too, because well, first of all, assumable loans tend to actually go to soldiers, active duty military, and veterans. And San Diego happens to have a significant cluster of that. And it's actually a good cross section of other parts of the community in terms of the makeup of the residents, though cost of living is like on another orbit here compared to most of the other countries. So if it can work here, it might be able to work other places. It'll be interesting to see them go and test and try. I know they're active in many markets throughout the country. So congrats to the team there. And they're actually, I've mentioned before, they're working in a cool space in East Village. Topmark Capital's office has kind of become a little bit of a founder hub. There's 6 companies working all out of the same office. In fact, today there's a build day happening in that office as well. I think Brian Lamb's out of that office from Promissory, former Trust and Will. You got Jared from Upcycled there. You got the Topmark guys. So it's kind of cool to see also a bunch of founders working day in out with each other. But let's talk about another fundraise, actually a fund who raised. You broke the news on this with Seaside Equity, who's on, what fund number are they on now, Fred?
They're on Fund 3, and they actually raised some news with two new funds, which is kind of a surprise, a double whammy. They raised $723 million across 2 new funds. The headline was PE firm Seaside Equity Partners assets surpass $1 billion as mission critical strategy pays off. They closed these 2 funds despite a tough environment. So I spoke with Andrew Thompson, who is a managing partner. He moved to San Diego in 2017. His wife was born and raised in Oceanside, and he was splitting his time between New York and San Diego. I was like, hey, I'm gonna start my own PE firm and do it right here in San Diego. And they've been here ever since, and they have been crushing it. He told me that, he saw an email the other day about PE funds, they're struggling to raise new capital for their additional funds. Some are taking upwards of 20 months to close these funds. And they were able to raise a substantial amount. So the first fund, this Fund 3, they raised $550 million. And then they raised a smaller fund, $155 million. And essentially the strategy is, hey, this new bigger fund, we're going to do 10 more investments. They buy mission critical companies, think HVAC, plumbing, lawn care. These are, family owned businesses most of the time, and they focus on the western part of the US. And then they also launched a newer, smaller fund to do deals where companies are doing under 3 million in revenue. Historically, their fund was just too big to back those type of companies. So they decided to raise another fund to kind of grow their strategy. And when he told me when he started this, no one was in their space, but now there's other competitors. So it just proves that their strategy is working. And he did send me an email and said, hey, our assets under management is now 1.35 billion. So yeah, it's they join a growing group of PE shops in town. Others include JMI Equity, Neal's Partners, Stepstone Group, Tide Rock, HCAP Partners. So when people say, hey, there's no capital in San Diego, we can now point to an article and say, hey, there's more capital here, and here's who they are. So I'm really excited about what they're doing, not only in San Diego, but across the Western US.
Yeah, great point. People say no capital. Well, just maybe not the capital that's right for you, and that's okay, right? Everyone's got to find the right kind of capital provider and partner, not just any fund. And as everything's getting a bit more curated and a bit more specialized, there's very specific kinds of investments that make sense on both sides. especially as liquidity is even harder to find right now. People are going to have to get focused and say, this is what I'm good at investing in and where I know I can get the best return as well too. So thanks for highlighting that and making sure that they get their name out. I think they're North County based, right? You said where they're at?
They're actually in the same building as Seismic, which Seismic is a tech unicorn company. They're in Del Mar, Carmel Valley area, right next to Kin Sushi.
Yeah, which also was in the building. TVC Capital used to be, I think, or still was there
Yeah.
for a while as well too. A little capital density building right there for sure. Super cool to see. Another company that didn't announce funding but came out of stealth. I think a few of us have seen them building because of one of the co-founders who are pretty prominent in the AI space. But Cadre AI came out of stealth, I would say. And a few of us who are friends with one of the founders, Grayson LaFriends, who know he's been cooking something in the background, got a little ping saying, "All right, it's official, it's out." So super excited to see the Cadre team out in the wild. They are pretty much what's cool about Cadre is that they're like an AI agency. So think of what marketing agencies are. They come in and help you with areas that you need help on marketing. This is kind of similar for Cadre. Cadre is they come in and look at your business processes and systems and say, where can we actually use AI to close some gaps, solve some problems, speed up things. Do you know a bit more about this? You coming out with the piece soon?
So I'm actually going to be talking to Grayson pretty soon to get a deeper dive. But yeah, I'm excited for them. I heard that they are finding some growing business in the vertical of VC and P firms, and have worked with Blueprint and Tide Rock on some projects around AI and deal sourcing and whatnot. Yeah, I'm interested to kind of learn more about them coming out of stealth and what to expect for them. But yeah, Grayson is an exited founder, created Power Digital, really fast growing PE, I think public relations firm, marketing firm, and they were buying up businesses, and he had a pretty big exit. It's great to see him back in the game with a new company. And yeah, AI is obviously top of mind for a lot of folks across sectors, and I think it's off for the races, and excited to kind of learn more what they're up to.
Same. Yeah. So congrats also co-founders besides Grayson, Chad, who's been running SDX for a long time, building the AI community. And actually before that, he was deep in the crypto world, was running an Ethereum community as well, and then moved over to the AI world, building AI community there, as well as Riley as well too. So cool to see this, cool to see the team growing, and let's go team. Congrats. We got one last one. Big, let's close on a big news item here. Qualcomm, San Diego's largest company, I think, in town, closed on a pretty large acquisition of a semi-competitive chip maker, Alpha Wave Semi, $2.4 billion acquisition that they came in on. Qualcomm, we've been talking for a while about their kind of vertical and horizontal expansion of just like their need to diversify outside of purely handsets. So, we've talked about them in drones, in pretty much anything hardware for the longest time, and then the software layer on top, building this AI ecosystem around it. But, the need for chips is probably the biggest demand ever, mostly for the data world. Right? Like it used to be handsets. Now everyone's got smartphone, kind of a maxed out market there. AI is pretty much powering the next chip and energy wave here. And Qualcomm made a move to go get more piece of the data center world. What do you got takeaway here from their acquisition?
Yeah, this was rumored a few weeks before it got officially announced. I think Bloomberg was the first to catch the news. I think Qualcomm's in deal making mode. We're seeing big tech. They're betting big on acquisitions right now, whether it's talent or assets. They got to remain competitive in this environment. I see Microsoft, they're doing layoffs right now. They're trying to operate more lean. And so, yeah, I'd be curious if they're going to keep the team at Alpha Wave. The headline or the article kind of dived into how this acquisition will help Qualcomm grow its data center business. And so, with AI growing, there's data centers is a huge need. And I think they're in deal making mode right now. I think we might see another acquisition from them, from their early investor in Anthropic. they have to remain competitive. A lot of big tech, Google, are trying to reevaluate their business models and remain the leader in the space. Qualcomm remains a top semiconductor company. In order for them to innovate, I think they're going to have to continue to buy up smaller and larger companies. And these deals keep getting larger and larger. I think $1 billion acquisition would be front page or something back in the day, and now it's like every week there's a big headline of a company acquiring these companies for billions of dollars, which is just sign of times, man. It's consolidating. I think we're seeing consolidation in the market of big tech swallowing other companies, and yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
It is fascinating, especially in the AI world. You kind of alluded to the other acquisitions happening. We didn't talk about specifically Scale AI. We got a 49% equity buyout by Meta as well, valuing it at $30 billion. This is a software company, but building kind of infrastructure for the AI world. Qualcomm's got a $160 billion market cap. So, not too small, but also think of the big Mag 7. These are trillion-dollar companies, right? These are companies who are 10 to 15 times the size of Qualcomm, who they're hustling to stay in the loop and be the AI infrastructure. And Qualcomm's got to find a way to stay relevant in that as well too, because the AI world is pretty much just exploded the TAM of possibility for the future of software and hardware around that. So be interesting to see, where Qualcomm makes some moves to stay engaged and not kind of just be like the chip provider inside of everything. So we'll keep you posted, but exciting times for sure. We got some events coming up. As always, check out for the full list, the Social Coyote, link there in the show notes. I've got an event coming up where I am doing a fireside chat with Andy Ballister, co-founder of GoFundMe and IPOP AI. This is actually, we're rebirthing an event series that the late great Brant Cooper started 15 years ago, where he would actually fly in some great speakers like Paul Graham and Eric Ries and Dan Martell. I remember some of the best founder events I went to was the SD Tech Founder Series, and Brant and I were actually in talks to restart it just before he passed, unfortunately, and so we're doing it. We're making it happen. We're doing a fireside chat, and all proceeds are going to go back to the Brant Cooper Leadership Fund, which is a fund to mentor and support up-and-coming startup community leaders. So not the founders per se, but the people who are building community. We've already actually had, I think, 25 people apply, and we've been mentoring all of them already. We haven't deployed any capital or funds yet, but been mentoring, doing the resource piece for that. And we're actually going to we'll make a big announcement of who those people are in cohort 1 over the summer, and then I think open up applications for cohort 2 at Startup Week in October. But just excited to have Andy Ballister sit down and really tell the stories of the early days of GoFundMe. There's still so many people who have no idea that it's San Diego founded company, and he's already on to company number 2. So that'll be a fun event. The Founders Hike continues. First Friday of each month, including the 4th of July edition. Come out in your red, white, and blue morning of 4th of July. And now we have an afternoon edition of the Founders Hike. Thank you to Rachel Louie, who stepped up and said, I want to lead an afternoon edition. So the week after the morning hike, so second week of every month, she's doing a 5 p.m. hike. Also at the Torrey Pines Glide Report. Link will be in the show notes. And I mentioned that Devon Data Night CTO talks end of July. You got any events come up on your radar, Fred?
Yeah. Next week we're doing a stand-up happy hour. I did a post on LinkedIn. If you don't follow me there, check it out. Kind of just bringing together the community in sponsorship with Wells Fargo at a brewery happy hour, and also a life science event with JP Morgan Chase and BDO, kind of bringing together early stage life science companies on Wednesday at Breakthrough Properties. So yeah, if you want to get in the mix of some of these private curated events, send me a note on LinkedIn, and we always try to share public facing events on our LinkedIn and Twitter channels. And yeah, it's always a pleasure to do this with you, Neal. This is a very busy month, and I'm looking forward to kind of slowing down a bit in July and enjoying the San Diego sun after June gloom kind of passes away.
Yeah, I hear you. Have a great trip. Well deserved. Enjoy, relax. But we'll be back at it right here, week in, week out. And so, Fred, thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Always a pleasure, Neal.
Cheers.
Startups get the party started. Startups get the party. Startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech. You know we got tacos and tech is on smash. For the green guacamole. Keep accountants counting beans. Contador cuentan frijoles. Founders trying to raise some queso. La vida San Diego. School of rappy, rapping fire. Tortillas round jalapenos. In these modern times of craft beer and coffee, my coding yoga posse. Fold the body, origami. We be surfing Coronado. Eating tacos el gordo. The taco stand in puesto. Lucha libre and sombrero. Gotta shout out Tecos Daniels by the ocean. Watch the sunset. The Hoya shores. Entrepreneurs trying to get funded. When San Diego Startup Week is popping in the summer. Oceanside to Tijuana. SD be full of hustlers. From couch surfing to penthouses right on the beach. Tech leaders who believe stars are within reach. We interviewing founders who be shooting for the moon. Hashtag SD Techos with your host, Neal Bloom. Come on! Startups get the party. Startups get the party started. Startups get the party. Startups get the party started. Startups get the party. Startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech. You know we got it. Hey. Startups get the party. Startups get the party started. Startups get the party. Startups get the party started.